Good morning, my dear students. How are you all? Hope you all are healthy, safe, fine, and now happy since your schools have also started for the new academic sessions in the month of June. So, hope you all are happy and sound. Let's begin up with the session for revision on a letter to God. I'm Priya, teacher here. Let's start off. Let's begin the session with the thought for the day. The thought for the day is, if you look at what you have in life, you will have more. But if you look at what you don't have in life, you will never have enough. Means just check for all the positive things in your life, all that you have in your life, then you have plenty. But if you just keep on checking on what you don't have in life, you will always think of nothing. Don't have in life is means nothing. Now, holding this thought in mind, try to construct a nice story of your own and jot it down. Write it down in 120 to 150, 50 words. If your construction is already done with the story, then jot it down in your notebook, classwork or grammar classwork if you have prepared one. Then what are we going to cover up in this lesson? Deal with in this lesson. It's like in the session highlights, we are going to deal with the summary of the lesson. The oral comprehension will be done. Textual answers will be discussed. Talk about the writer a little, and then a small audio assignment also is there for you. Next, let's begin on with this short summary of the letter. Before we begin, there is also a small activity which in the audio sessions we couldn't do it. So now let's just go through it. Before you read, they say faith can move mountains. But what should we put our faith in? This is the question this story dedicatedly possesses. Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to the god when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho's letter reach the god? Does God send him the money? Think what your answer to these questions would be. And guess how the story continues before you begin to read it. Now, since we have already dealt with the lesson, it is an activity to be done before you reading the lesson. Since we are meeting right now in the interactive session, think about what would have been a constructively different end to the story, or if Lencho wouldn't have been a faith in the beliefs type of personality, what would have been the end of the story. Then the activity over here is given as, one of the cheapest way to send money to someone is through the post office. Have you ever sent or received money in this way? Here's what you have to do. Have you ever been to post office? Have you visited a post office? These days it's a lot of movements going on in and around in the post office, because the postmen's and the workers over there, they are circulating all the couriers and all. Postmen. Then here's what you have to do. How to you transfer money or all. When we never had smartphones and all, this way we used to deal. As you read the instructions discussed with your teachers in the class, the meanings of these words: counter clerk, appropriate, acknowledgement, counterfoil, record, consult, a dictionary is necessary. Are there words corresponding to these English words in your language? Please do go ahead, read your dictionary and try to check out if these words are there in the dictionary. Do you have a synonym for these words? And let me know these words. You do that, check that out, and what possibly fitting words, exact words which could fit in the same sentence for the same word, synonym, appropriate synonym. And then the procedure is discussed over. In the post office, go to the counter marked money order. You can just go have a ride or just have a visit to the post office. just drive to the post office later on once everything is done, clean and clear, safe and healthy out. Then buy a money order form by paying 50 paise to the person behind the counter. Fill the appropriate boxes in the form, preferably in block letters. Block letters means capital letters. Pay the counter clerk the amount of money to be sent along with the charges. Take back the MO. MO is money order acknowledgement counterfoil for your record. This is the way it used to move when the smartphones were not there. This was the type of form that we were supposed to fill in to make the transfers. Now let's just go through a rough summary of the whole lesson. Lencho was a dedicated agriculturist, right? That is, he was a farmer. He was expected a decent harvest. Yet, sadly, decent means not too much, but up to the expectations for the satisfaction of the family's needs, basic needs. A hailstorm came and destroyed his harvest totally. Lencho was very sad, but he had strong belief in God. He was true and so sure that God would definitely help him. He was extremely straightforward man. He composed a letter to God. In the letter, he asks God to send him 100 pesos. At that point, he went to the post office and put the letter into the post office. Now, the way the summary is constructed, this is the way you're supposed to write your story in the paper as well. Stick to a tense. If you are going to write your story that it had happened, which is much better, past tense, stick to the tense. Next, the postman removed the letter from the letter box. He read the address on it and laughed badly. When he rushed to the postmaster and demonstrated to him that strange letter, the postmaster also chuckled like not a laughter, not a smile, something in between, chuckle. In the same way, when he saw the address of God, when he read the letter, he got very serious. He lauded this man who had extraordinary confidence in God. He decided to help him. He asked the employees of the post office to give money. He gave a part of his salary too, but they were able to collect only a little amount, more than half the money requested by Lencho. The postmaster put the money in an envelope and addressed it to Lencho. Next Sunday, Lencho came again to the post office. He asked if there are any letters for him. The postmaster took out the letter and gave it to Lencho. Lencho was not surprised at seeing the money, but when he counted the money, he became angry. Actually, if someone who does not have trust in God and all would not have in the first step written a letter. Now he was so confident that he wrote a letter, and when he wrote a letter and he received a letter back reply, he was not at all supposed to be surprised. But what happened? Let's see. But when he counted the money, he became angry. He thought that God would not have made the mistake. He took paper and ink and wrote another letter to God. Then he put the letter into the letter box. After Lencho had gone, the postmaster and the employees read the letter. Actually, now they were expecting some good feedback, like as if we did some favor on him, or we have tried to help him out of humanity and he should appreciate our deal, this sort of thing. But let's see what they saw. Lencho had complained to God that he had received only 70 pesos. This time he requested God to send him the rest of the money. But he asked God not to send the money through mail. He wrote that the post office employees were a bunch of crooks who might have stolen the money. We've already been through the letter. So this is what actually happened in the whole story in short. Now, if you have any queries, you can put it into the query box, chat box, and ask me the questions. I'll try to resolve your queries. I hope you won't have any. I have dealt with each and every detail of this lesson. Now there were extra or new words like crest means top of a hill, and then drop means covered, draped, sorry, draped, draped means just covered. Locust is the name of an insect which flies in big swarms. Swarms is a collective noun and destroys the crops. Then we have got oral comprehension here. Oh, what did Lencho hope for? Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? And what were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? Now we have already discussed the answer. If you have got your class works, you can check your answers if you have written the correct answers. What did Lencho hope for? Lencho hoped for a good rain and it was much needed for a good harvest, right? Do you have the same answer written in your classworks or on your answer sheets, foolscape papers, whatever you have written down in? Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? Second question. Lencho compared the raindrops with new coins because they were promising him a good harvest. Promising him a good harvest means they were assuring him that yes, definitely you will get a good harvest now, resulting in more prosperity. Third one. How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? Now, third question. The rain changed into hailstones as a strong wind began to blow and huge hailstones began to fall along with the rain. All the crops in Lencho's field got destroyed because of the weather conditions. Check if you have got the same answer there. Now, the next part of the story goes on. Now, before we move on, we've got a small story related to the same theme of this lesson. Let's just watch the story.
Once upon a time, there lived a very wise man. He was the mayor of a local village. Everyone respected him and his views and opinions were well regarded. Many people came to him seeking for advice. His son, however, was very lazy and wasted his time sleeping and spending time with his friends. No amount of advice or threat made any difference to him. He would not change at all. The years passed, and with time faded the youth of the wise man. As he grew older, he began to worry about his son's future. He recognized that he had to give his son something so that he could take care of himself and his family to be in the future. So one day the wise man called his son to his room and said, "My son, you are no more a kid now. You must learn to take responsibilities and understand life. I want you to find the real purpose of your life. And once you find it, remember it always, and you will lead a life full of happiness and joy forever." He then handed his son a bag. When the son opened the bag, he was surprised to see 4 pairs of clothes, one for each season. There also were some raw foods, grains, lentils, little money, and a map. His father continued, "I want you to go find a treasure. I have drawn a map of the place where the treasure is hidden. You need to go and find it." The son loved this idea. For the first time, he thought that his father had a good idea for him. So the next day, he eagerly set out on a journey to find the treasure. He had to travel really far across borders, forests, plateaus, and mountains. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Along the way, he met a lot of people. He was helped by some with food and by some with shelter. He also came across robbers who tried to rob him and people who tried to cheat him. He experienced the best and the worst of humanity on his way. Slowly the season changed, and so did the landscapes along with it. When the weather was unpleasant, he halted for the day and continued his journey when the weather cleared. Finally, after a long year, he reached his destination. It was a cliff. The map showed the treasure being placed below the cliff under the tree. Upon spotting the tree, he began to dig the ground. He searched and searched, around it, under it, over it, but found nothing. He spent 2 days looking and digging for the treasure. By the third day, he was so exhausted that he decided to leave. Disappointed over his father's lie, he headed back to his home. On his way back, he experienced the same changing landscapes and seasons. This time, however, he halted to enjoy the blooming flowers in spring and the dancing birds in monsoon. He stayed in places only to watch the sunset in paradise or to enjoy pleasant summer evenings. Since the supplies he carried were over by then, he learned to hunt and make arrangements for his meals. He also learned how to sew his clothes and shelter himself. He was now able to determine the hour of the day by the position of the sun and plan his journey accordingly. He also learned how to protect himself from wild animals. He met the same people who had helped him earlier. This time he stayed a few days with them and helped them in some or the other way to repay them. He realized how nice they were to an ordinary passerby who had nothing to offer to them in return. When he reached home, he realized it had been 2 years since he left the place. He walked straight into his father's room. "Father," he said. The father immediately jumped to his feet and hugged his son. "So how was your journey, my son? Did you find the treasure?" he asked. "The journey was fascinating, father, but forgive me, for I wasn't able to find the treasure. Maybe somebody took it before I reached." He surprised himself by what he just said. He wasn't angry at his father. Instead, he was asking for forgiveness. "There wasn't any treasure in the first place, my son," the father answered, smiling. "But why did you send me to find it then?" the son asked. "I will surely tell you why, but first you tell me, how was your journey to the place? Did you enjoy it?" "Of course not, father. I had no time. I was worried someone else would find the treasure before I did. I was in a hurry to reach the cliff. But I did enjoy the journey on my way back home. I made many friends and witnessed miracles every day. I learned so many different skills and the art of survival. There was so much I learned that it made me forget the pain of not finding the treasure." "Exactly, my son. I want you to lead your life with a goal. But if you remain too focused on the goal, then you will miss out the real treasures of life. The truth is, life has no goal at all, other than to just experience it and grow with every single day. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience." Eleanor Roosevelt. Thanks for watching.
Well, this was also a nice story, right? Did you understand the story? What all is been discussed in the story? The theme of the story? No one is going to come into your way as a miracle. You will have to work it out hard to gain success without giving up. Nicely and with all positivity. Let's move on now.
Stay blessed.
The next new word on this journey of a letter to God was conscience. And the meaning is an inner sense of right and wrong. At times we say that I had a gut feeling something would go wrong or something, this is going to work out. I knew this is going to work out. This is what is conscience. Piece of currency, name of a currency. We've already discussed this. Amiable means a friendly personality. It's an adjective. Happy, friendly, pleasant personality. Now, again we've got oral comprehension here. Who and what did Lencho, who or what did Lencho have faith in? What did he do? Lencho had firm faith in God. He believed that God sees everything, even what is deep in one's conscience, and help everyone in one's problem. He wrote a letter to God demanding him 100 pesos to sow his field again. Right? So that's the reason I discussed this answer even in the audio. The question refers to a particular point. If that point is addressed properly in the answer, then you'll get 100% full marks, 1 mark or 2 mark, whatever is assigned for that answer. Then who read the letter? Because there is a confusion between postmaster and a postman. So who read the letter? Postmaster read the letter. Now here you know what? When we say postmaster or postmen, men becomes the plural for postman, man, man. But in case of human, we do not write humans. Do we write human, human, and humen, human, plural for human? No. Have you ever written like that? Can we write it this way? Why is it not written in this way? We will discuss that. Just remind me. The postman laughed when he heard. Now the third question, what did the postmaster do then? The postmaster laughed when he heard Lencho's letter, but soon he became serious and was moved by the writer's faith in God. He didn't want to shake Lencho's faith, so he decided to collect money and send it to Lencho on behalf of God. Now here when we construct a sentence, he didn't want. While constructing the sentence, when you use did or the past tense here, then the active verb want, do, want, give. When you have once used past tense form didn't, then you don't need to put in didn't wanted. This answer does not demand that way. The sentence structure shows he didn't wanted to shake. No, he didn't want to shake Lencho's faith, so he decided to collect money and send it to Lencho on behalf of God. This is the right sentence structure. We will deal with it in detail when we talk about tenses. Now let's come back to human and human. Did you think of what could be the reason why don't we write it as human, humen? The plural of human, we write the plural of human as humans, human, s. Because human is not a noun, rather human being. Human actually is an adjective. Humanly feelings, humanly activities, human thoughts, humanly deeds. So human is pluralized as humans and not as humen. Other than that, in any word when you find men or woman, man becomes men, woman becomes women. Let's move on. Then the next word is contentment, which means satisfaction. Then you've again got oral comprehension check, which says the first one was Lencho surprised to find a letter for him with money in it. Yes, Lencho was not surprised to find, the answer is no. Lencho was not surprised to find a letter with money from God, as he believed that God will help him. Yes means what? He was like, he was not surprised, but he had written the letter. So he was like, yes, there is someone called as God and he is going to deal with me. I can talk with him and he will help me out. It is good to have faith, but to a certain extent you have to work it out on your own. God helps them, those who help themselves. Miracles won't happen every time. This is all about a game of luck, sort of, which is not right according to me. You need to have hard work potentials. You cannot gain anything without hard work, serious hard work, focused hard work. Then second question, what made him angry? There were only 70 pesos in the envelope, whereas Lencho had demanded 100 pesos. The difference in the amount made him angry. This is what made him actually angry. This should be the way you need to write the answers. Thinking about the test, here we begin with the textual assignment. First question is, who does Lencho have complete faith in, and which sentence in the story tell you this? All these answers we have already discussed and given to you in the form of PDF files. Hope you all must have written it down. In case if you had any difficulties, you can just take a snapshot of what of the screen shown right now. Second question, why does the postmaster and send money to Lencho? Why does he sign the letter to God? He signed the letter as God. Yeah. Now here this answer needs to be discussed, because why does the postmaster send money to Lencho? He was no ways related actually. Why did he interfere into it? This is what is called a humanly deed. An act done out of humanity. So this made him do something for Lencho, which is relates to the current situation. Why does he sign the letter to he didn't even take the credit of writing the letter, collecting the money, making the arrangements for him. He addressed the letter as God. So the answer stands like this. The postmaster sends money to Lencho in order to keep Lencho's faith in God alive and firm, as he was completely moved by it. When postmaster reads the letter of Lencho to God, he becomes serious and does not want to shake the faith and decides to answer the letter. He gathers money with the help of his post office employees and friends on behalf of God and signs the letter as God in quotes, so that Lencho's faith does not get shaken. Sentence structure and tenses. The third question is, did Lencho try to find out who had sent the money to him? Why or why not? This answer we have discussed already very nicely. Next, who does Lencho think has taken the rest of the money? What is the irony in the situation? Now here the word irony. So it's also really very important if you understand the question properly. What is the question demanding from you? What points are necessary to be included in your answer? So for that you need to first understand the question properly. What's the irony in the situation? What's the problematic scene in the situation? That is what is the theme of your answer should be. Focused. So now let's read the answer. Lencho thinks that the post office employees have taken the rest of the money, as he had demanded 100 pesos from God, and in the letter there was only 70 pesos and God cannot make a mistake. So he assumed that they have stolen the money. The irony in this situation is that Lencho suspects those people who helped him in his problem and tried to make his faith alive in God. Now, after dealing with this question, just try to find out the difference between faith and belief. Having faith in someone and belief. Faith, faith, and belief, BELIEF, belief. Is there really any difference between these two words? Actually, there's a book named Faith in Beliefs. Try to read it if you can. Nice book it is. Fifth question. Are there people like Lencho in the real world? What kind of a person would you say he is? You may select appropriate words from the box to answer the question. This is like story writing. You've got the points over here, and in and around these words you've got to frame this sentence structure and your answer as well. It should sound similar to this answer. Your answer. It is almost impossible to find a person like Lencho, as he is an unquestioning and naive kind of a person, means it's totally blank, like, which you cannot imagine of. How can someone be so means believing on something, some concept like God, to practically help it out, and it did even work out. Unquestioning and naive kind of a person, he is not stupid if he doesn't know who has sent him money, or a letter will reach God without any address. It is Lencho's faith in God. In real world, people are selfish and greedy, and Lencho is totally lovable and different. He's also totally lovable and different. It's not like he wants it. It's his daily need, the basic need. Next. There are two kinds of conflicts in the story between human and nature, and between humans themselves. See, humans themselves. How are those conflicts illustrated? Now, to answer this type of question, you need to understand the question properly. So, to understand a long answer question, what do? You split that question into parts. Let's understand the first part of the question. There are two kinds of conflicts in the story. There are two kinds of differences in the story, conflicts. One conflict is between the human and the nature. That is the field or the need of Lencho and the deed of nature, that there was a hailstorm. He was just requiring some rain, but there was a hailstorm. So human needs and nature. Then second conflict between humans and humans themselves. Two humans like Lencho and the postmaster. The postmaster and his employees. The postman and the postmaster, in between relations. How are those conflicts illustrated? These are also highlighted very beautifully in this story. How is it been highlighted? How will you write these answers? Let's see, because such long answers do carry 8 marks altogether. Let's see. Conflicts between human and nature. First, let's deal with it step by step, because they want your view on both the points based on the lessons, referring to the lesson. Conflicts between human and nature. The conflict between human and nature is illustrated by destruction of Lencho's crop by hailstorm, as Lencho was expecting a good rain to have good harvest, as that was the only hope he had for his earnings. He worked so hard to feed his family, but nature turned violent and destroyed everything. The spelling of violent is VIOLENT. It should never be VOILENT. Just remember. Conflicts between human and human means humans, like we discussed. The story also illustrated another conflict between humans themselves, as the postmaster, along with his friends and staff, sent Lencho money that Lencho demanded from God, although they didn't know Lencho. The staff members actually didn't even had seen Lencho. They didn't even knew the problem of Lencho, but they had trust in their postmaster, and so they supported him. They donated some money for him. Lencho blamed them for taking away some money or some amount of money. He called that they were a bunch of crook. This shows that that man does not have faith in other man, thereby giving rise to this conflict. Now, if you compare one conflict with the other conflict, this itself proves that Lencho never had faith on human beings, but he had faith on God, which he had never seen, which could have been an abstract concept for someone. So this is when I say the perspective matters. With what perspective do you observe? Do you understand? Do you conceive an idea? That matters. Next was, there are different names in different parts of the world for storms. Yes, even here we have used hailstones, hailstorms. Depending on their nature, can you match the names in the box with their descriptions below and fill in the blanks? You may use a dictionary to help yourself. So, this is quite easy, very simple, and we've already done this. The answer to the first one was cyclone, second one is gale, cyclone, cyclone, gale, gale, typhoon, typhoon, fourth was tornado, tornado, fifth is Atlantic Ocean, fifth is hurricane, hurricane, and sixth one is whirlwind, whirlwind, wind. Now this is the 8th page of your textbook, which says, notice how the word hope is used in these sentences from the story. I hope it passes quickly. There was a single hope, help from God. In the first example, hope is a verb which means you wish for something to happen. In the second example, it is a noun meaning a chance for something to happen. Next is match the following for this same way. That is a good practice to understand questions. You need to understand the sentence or the part mentioned in section A to find out a better match in the section B. Here it would be, will you get the subjects you want to study in college? I hope so. Thinking that this would happen, it may or may not have happened. So what would be the right option for this? Thinking that this would happen, right? Then second is, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but I don't like you the way you are arguing. Means at times we do say that, I don't mind you keep on saying this, I have no objection, you can go on keep on saying that, but I don't like this the way you are keeping on arguing every now and then. So what does it point to? It actually refers to what type of thing? It is showing concern that what you say should not offend or disturb the other person, and way of being polite. This third one, this discovery will give new hope to HIV/AIDS sufferers. Now here the meaning of hope, third type. I guess we have already discussed this in the assignment sessions or in the audio sessions. A feeling that something good will happen probably. That is what hope refers in this sentence. Then we were hoping against hope that judges would not notice our mistakes. Now here the meaning of hope refers exactly to wishing for something to happen, although this is very unlikely. We know that it's not going to happen, but we're wishing that hope this happens. Fifth one, I called early in the hope of speaking to her before she went to school. Wanting something to happen. Yes, here you are expecting and thinking that this can happen. Yes, possibly, right, quite possible. Sixth one, just when everybody had given you hope, the fisherman came back 7 days after the cyclone. Now the meaning of hope over here. Stop believing that this good thing would happen. See, one word used in a variety of ways referring to a different point or different theme of this sentence. When you say something and you mean something else, you should be clear at expressing your ideas out so that you can reach out the other person. Now this is something that needs a lot of concentration and preparations and ability to understand, readiness to understand. These are all about clauses. I would definitely deal with it in details, but right now let's stick to the question and try to answer the question. It says, look at these sentences. First, A is all morning Lento, who knew his fields intimately, looked at the sky. B says, the woman who was preparing supper, it's supper, replied, yes, God willingly. Now, let's see. The italicized part of the sentence gives us more information about Lencho and the woman. We call them native relative clauses. Notice that they begin with a relative pronoun who. This is again a big topic. Relative pronouns. Other common relative pronouns are whom, whose, and which. The relative clause in A and B above are called non-defining because we already know the identity of person they describe. We have already dealt with it in details in the 9th standard, that what is it, defining relative clause and non-defining relative clause. Defining relative clause will be the clause where it demands for the object to be present. It redirects a sentence, and non-defining would be not required. We will revise everything in detail and nicely. Don't worry. Lencho is a particular person and there is a particular woman who speaks to. We don't need the information in the relative clause to pick these people out from a larger set. Yes, it is directly indicated to a particular woman, that is his wife. So you don't need any directions, or you don't need to pick out from a crowd or a group. A non-defining relative clause usually has a comma. Yes, it would need, right? We have also discussed these rules of non-defining. Has a comma in front of it and a comma after it. Some writers use a dash instead, as in this story. If relative clause comes at the end, we just put a full stop. So you should be able to first cut the sentence down into the main clause and the subordinate clause, then decide on the type of clauses: noun, adjective, relative, adverbial clause, and then cut it off into the relative and non-relative clause in case if you require. But the way we have got questions for 10th standard and the board exams is all about editing, omission, sentence restructuring, and gap filling. So this is the basic knowledge. Join the sentences given below using who, whom, which as suggested. Let's deal with it. I often go to Mumbai is the commercial Mumbai is the commercial capital of India. Very easy, right? The word is already given to you. You've just got to put it into between two sentences and blend them off. We've discussed this already. Then using negatives for emphasis. See, when you read the lesson in between, you can highlight some sentences, underline some sentences which do indicate negatives to emphasize on a particular point. Like we know that sentences with words such as no, not, or nothing show the absence of something or contradict something. For example, this year we will have no corn. Corn will be absent. We'll have no corn. Then the hail has left nothing. Then these aren't raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. But sometimes negative words are used just to emphasize an idea. Look at these sentences from the story. Means there is a difference in the above sentences. 3 sentences, negatives were used just to indicate the absence of a thing. Now here is to indicate the idea. First one, Lencho had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. He had done nothing, only this. Other idea. Next, the man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. See, once again the same way the same sentence is mentioned. Means he had only this reason. To mention that, nothing is used. Then F. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. He showed no surprise at all. See the way you use these sentences. Now, moving on. Find sentences in the story with negative words which express the following ideas empathetically, with empathy. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is when you get into the distress of the other person. Someone else is in sorrow and you also start getting into it. That's sympathy. When you start feeling empathetic, yes, I understand that this is the problem for you. Wait, we will try to solve it. Staying away from that problem. You don't get into it. That is empathetically. So the first sentence is the tree lost all their leaves. Answer will be not a leaf remained on the trees. Then the letter was addressed to God himself. Empathetically, how will you write his answers? It was nothing less than a letter to God. Next, the postman saw this ID address for the first time in his career. Answer would be never in his career as a postman had he seen that address. Next are the metaphors. Very lovely topic, very beautiful topic. Something like simile and metaphor. I talked about writing devices in the last year sessions when we've done simile and metaphor. The differences in what a metaphor and a simile is. Just try to recollect all that. The word metaphor comes from a Greek word meaning transfer. Metaphors compares two things or ideas. A quality or feature of one thing is transferred to another thing. Some common metaphors are the leg of the table. See, the table supports our body, so the object that supports a table is described as a leg. See, the heart of the city, so leg of the table. The heart of the city. We commonly use these things, leg of the table, heart of the city. The heart is an important organ in the center of your body. So, this word is used to describe the central area of a city. Next, you've got in pairs, find metaphors from the story to complete this table below. Just try to find the metaphors. Let's work it out. It says for cloud, which is already been done, the metaphor could be huge mountains of clouds. That has been used. And the mass of hugeness of mountains. Describe. So you should be quite brief and clear and concrete about your ideas that you're talking about. Raindrops means coins could be is used in the letter to God lesson. Money that a good crop will bring. Coins, why is he referring it to coins? Raindrops is referred to as coin because he is talking about referring to money that a good crop will bring. Hailstones, frozen pearls referred as metaphor. Then the idea behind it is brightness of the pearls. Locust, a plague of locusts. That's the metaphor. And the concept is that quality of feature which is compared actually. And pandemic or an epidemic that spreads very rapidly and leaves many people dead. Lencho. Lencho is an ox of a man, and by which they want to say that he is a strong person. Next. Speaking activity which I want you all to do is, have you ever been in great difficulty and felt that only a miracle could help you? How was your problem solved? Speak about this in the class with your teacher. Now, since we are right now in the class and I am your teacher right now, so speak about it, record your voice and make a voice note and store with you in your device. Keep it safe. When we meet up, submit it. I'll listen to it. Okay, that's it then. The end of the lesson. Let's sum it up with the author. The author's name was Gregorio Fuentes. He was a fisherman by profession, a normal layman, but with good deep thinking. His famous work was The Old Man and the Sea. He was born on 11th of July 1897 and left the planet on January 13th, 2002. Hope you all have got a nice idea about this lesson, and I have a list of words, difficult words that we have dealt with. Just check if you have already written down these words. The first word is supper, or note it down roughly somewhere right now and later on copy it in your classwork. Word number 1, SUPPER. Second word, prediction, PREDICTION. Third, I haven't written it down on the slide on purpose. I want you to work on your listening skill properly and then note it down. Third one is scent, CENT, scent. Fourth one is expression, EXPRESSION. Fifth, regarded, REGARDED. Sixth, resemble, RESEMBLE. Seventh, exposing, EXPOSING. Eighth, plague, PLAGUE. Ninth, locust, LOCUSTS. 10th, solitary, SOLITARY. 11th, conscience, CONSCIENCE. 12th one, peso, PESO. 13th one, amiable, AMIABLE. 14, drape, DRAPE. 16, comment, COMMENT. 16th one, correspondence, CORRESPONDENCE. 7th one, evident, EVIDENT, evident. 8th one, resolution, RESOLUTION. 19th one, obliged, OBLIGED. 20, charity, CHARITY. 21, contentment, CONTENTMENT. Contentment and containment zones, those are two different things and different spellings. This is CONTENTMENT. Contentment means satisfaction. Contentment means fulfillment. Equanimity, contentment means complacency, and what contentment would be placidity, contentment would be repletion. That is what is contentment. The contentment zone is CONTAINMENT. 22nd, confidence, CONFIDENCE. Well, I told you to check for the meaning of this word in the dictionary. Have you practically tried it? Check it. Read the meaning. 23 is fist, FIST, fist. And 24 is crooks, CROOKS, crooks. With that, I end the session. Bye bye.